It's the oldest public museum in Britain. The University of Oxford's Ashmolean Museum. History Hit is going behind the scenes to see some of its most precious and surprising objects, up close and personal. This time, I'm delving into the world of witchcraft. In early modern Europe, death was ever present. From plague and war to high infant mortality, the bewildering fragility of life fueled a belief in witchcraft. Thought to consort with the devil and wield dark powers, witches were blamed for all sorts of misfortune. These fears left their mark on the art and objects of the time. Were these images symbolic, or did people truly believe in the threat witches posed? The Ashmoleans collection reveals how deeply ideas of magic and witchcraft were woven into daily life. Through images of women, strange creatures and cryptic symbols, these objects reflect a culture grappling with the unseen. Showing me some of her favourite items from the collection is curator of Northern European art Anne van Kamp. We start with a striking print dating from the late 15th century by the celebrated German artist Albrecht Dürer.
The print is nowadays known as The Four Witches. Dürer obviously didn't give this title. Dürer didn't have a catalogue of all his prints with titles and dates on them, so it's something that has been retrospectively attributed to this print. So there's hundreds of theories about what this print might be. So the general consensus is the title is The Four Witches. I don't know, I think we can see some graces in here. Maybe three of them are graces and they're just chatting to another lady in the corridor of a bathhouse, or other people have said maybe a brothel scene.
But wait a second, we do have a skull down here. We've got a bit of bone. Once you look a bit closer, oh, and there's something looking like a hell dog coming up the corridor here.
So these are the clues, I think, that made people think maybe these are not just four friendly ladies chatting in the nude. Yeah, so we've got the skull quite hidden, right? Because you don't see it at first. And then, yeah, if you go into that left background, there's a horrendous creature sort of engulfed in flames. He's holding a weird object, which took me ages to figure out what it was. And then, as you do in a museum, I got an email a few weeks ago from a German researcher in bird trapping, and he identified the tool as a bird trap.
So this is from the late 15th century.
Yeah, we got the date here nicely engraved in this mysterious sphere or globe that is dangling from the ceiling, so 1497.
And we've got to say something about their hair, because it's just fabulous.
Costume historians have managed to identify the different headdresses and hairstyles that these women are sporting, which makes it even more difficult to interpret. So for instance, the woman here on the left, she's wearing a haube, and a haube is a sort of very tall bonnet with a fabric draped over it, and that was only used by married women in Nuremberg, which complicates this scene even more. And then the lady on the right here, she's sort of wearing a very sort of a headdress with a veil, sort of, which is very delicately placed in front of her, and that was a costume for women from the middle class in Nuremberg. So maybe Dürer is sort of trying to equalize everyone and putting all the women from different social classes in one scene.
So is this really a comment on witches, or is this a comment on, I don't know, the dangers of female sexuality, the proximity of death, the temptation?
Exact temptation lurking in the background, yeah. The bird trap, yeah, could well be.
Moving forward over 100 years into the 17th century, artwork began to blend the natural world with the supernatural, reflecting the era's emerging study of anatomy.
This is a fabulous drawing that we have in our collection by a Dutch artist called Jacques de Ghem the Younger. And he was extremely talented, extremely popular, worked for the Dutch rulers at the time in The Hague. He manages to combine the natural with the supernatural. And if we look at his other drawings that have survived, you see a lot of natural history drawings that he made, like meticulously drawn studies of mice, for instance, or frogs or bats. And then here we have sort of his interest, his very scientific interest in natural history combined with the world of imagination, with the supernatural world.
There's so much going on here, Anne. Can you talk me through it?
So much, is overwhelming, right? So it's sort of like a cave, a kitchen in a cave, with this beautiful vaulted ceiling. And we have 3 witches who look very composed, I feel, for witches, and they're sort of very methodically performing something. And then you see this disemboweled man lying on the floor with a cat licking the blood from the floor. One of the witches is holding a candle with a cat on her lap. I wonder if they're sort of preparing something in the cauldron that is standing in front of them. She's reading a book in the background, so maybe she's invoking some magical spells at the same time.
That's the recipe.
The recipe for whatever they're cooking up in their cauldron. But what is really extraordinary about this is the shadow work. And so you've got this lantern dangling from the ceiling by this very elaborate pulley system that is knotted on the back wall here. And so you've got this huge shadow of the woman pointing towards the cauldron being cast on the wall. And then this witch who's holding the candle, her sort of, the reflection then bounces back from the lantern on the other wall.
They're very much fitting the stereotype of a witch. We've got the kind of hooked noses. They're older than the witches,
Yes.
or women we see here. But I'm really struck by what looks like science being part of this invocatory scene.
It's almost an anatomy lesson, isn't it? It's Rembrandt's anatomy lesson we're looking at here. We got the human figure here, so his arm is flayed as well. Can you see all his muscles and veins?
And we've got a skull with hair on it.
With hair.
Weird.
And that, of course, human hair could have been used by witches in their recipes. We've got lots of jars here in the foreground. We've got some utensils like spoons, knives, mushrooms. Do you see these mushrooms?
And of course a broomstick.
The broomstick. And all these creepy sort of plants and mosses dangling down from the arch.
So this is 1604. I mean, it's obviously benefiting from the kind of development in anatomical study that's happened over the course of the 16th century, but it's also gathering certain elements of witch lore, that we've got a broomstick, that we've got animals, that we've got this candle and cats and a cauldron. These are all fitting together.
The magic recipe book, the horse skeleton, the flayed horse in the background.
What is the purpose of it?
I think that he really sort of wanted to show off his skills, because we got a bit of everything. It's sort of a show-off, right? He means I can draw the most fabulous witch figures, but I can also draw you a really fantastic cat and some cute little mice, and then these bats sort of fluttering, and then the smoke billowing and the reflections, and it's just a show-off. I feel like this is what I can do. If you want a beautiful image in your collection, by my hand, this is what you should spend your money on.
And it's such an age of witchcraft accusations. I mean, this is the exact time, pretty much, that Shakespeare's written Macbeth, and it's just a few years before the last witch trial in the Dutch Republic. So
exactly, so especially in the Netherlands, because these witch trials are often sort of connected to religious persecutions. And of course in the Netherlands we have, on a micro scale, sort of the Protestants in the north against the Catholics in the south, in cities around Antwerp. So it really was brewing in those places at the time. And so the Protestants and the Catholics, they each sort of tried to win as many souls as possible. And how can you do that? By spectacular witch trials and sort of antagonizing people.
it's all brewing here as well.
It's literally brewing there on the cauldron, yeah.
By the early 18th century, witch trials were fading into history, and discourse about witches had taken on a more satirical tone. As well as the evolution of magical beliefs, depictions from this era offer revealing insights into contemporary politics and society.
This one is quite different actually from the ones we just looked at. So this is an etching by a French artist called Claude Gillot, who was quite an interesting figure, sort of early 18th century we're talking, so we're jumping more than 100 years in time, just on the cusp of Rococo. He was a teacher of Watteau, if you can believe it. He was a painter, a printmaker, he did book illustrations, he worked for stage design, costume design, so really fascinating figure. And what we see here is a completely bonkers sort of witches' Sabbath. I just don't know where to look first.
I mean, so this is when the witch trials are largely coming to an end.
Exactly.
And so all of that information about what happens in a witch's Sabbath has kind of been gathered up. This is the sort of taxonomy of the whole thing.
Yeah, this isn't sort of relevant to actual witch trials anymore. This is sort of more like, how can we run our imagination and just make witches' Sabbath just look as crazy and as imaginative as possible. From just looking at this, there's this really weird ram-like creature who...
Well, that's the devil, isn't it?
The devil, who's crouching and looking backwards while there's a queue of strange demonic hybrid animal-human creatures lining up to kiss his ass.
The osculum infame, the kiss of shame. Yes, to kiss his anus. That's what they want to do.
Kiss, yeah.
The closer you look at it, the weirder it becomes.
Have you seen these two figures? It looks like they're invoking some magical spells, opening a big book with this cat probably kicking over all these jars and maybe human elements from the middle, and then a weird chicken.
The accumulation of knowledge that we now have about what witches do at the Sabbath, is that what this is supposed to show?
I wonder. We also know, for instance, that Gillot does a lot of political satire, and I wonder, through these imaginative, fantastical scenes of witchcraft, he's actually trying to critique some of the political figures. Though we wouldn't know nowadays what it might have referred to, maybe people at the time might sort of understand the references he was trying to make.
The faces that do look human, perhaps at the time you could have said, oh, that looks like so-and-so.
Maybe this lady, do you see, I find her quite naturalistic compared to the other ones. So maybe she was a high-born Parisian lady that everyone knew was talking about.
What's so interesting is that it looks like we've got three prints about witches, but in fact we've got something that might be a comment on female sexuality and the dangers of temptation.
Possibly.
And we've got something here which is containing elements of political satire and also isn't taking witchcraft as seriously as had been done 100 years earlier. So it's almost as if every time we talk of witches, we're also actually talking about something else.
Exactly. Nothing else what it seems when it comes to witches.
Our revelations about witchcraft don't end at pictures. They also extend to objects thought to protect against witches.
You might think, why are we looking at a sort of simple stoneware jug made in England in the 17th century? In fact, what we're looking at is a real witch's bottle. Witches' bottles were found in, for instance, buried underneath houses and walls as protectors of the house. And often we find things in it. And if I shake this bottle, do you hear?
Yes.
Shall we have a look? Okay, I'm a bit scared. But they're said to be containing witches. They're said to be containing items that were taken from people that were possessed by witches, for instance, hair or fingernails, like iron nails.
The iron nails.
Iron nails.
It's actually very difficult to see in. I don't see a witch in there,
Okay.
so don't be too scared. We think of them as witches' bottles as if they were owned by witches, but what you're saying is that these are anti-witch bottles.
Anti-witch bottles, exactly. So they would protect against witches. So these bottles would contain all kinds of materials. So you'd have sort of elements of the human who was possessed by the witch in there, but you also have, as we saw when we looked earlier, metal nails, iron nails in there, which would absorb the witch. So they were sort of meant to contain the witch, and then all this would be put in the bottle. The bottle would be closed off with a cork, with a stop, and that would then ward off the evil when you bury it in your house. Obviously, we have an open bottle here. Someone has opened it, so...
That witch has escaped. But at some point, the metal nails pulled her in, or him, and then the top went in, and therefore people were protected. There's a kind of witch protecting against other witches.
Yeah,
Right here.
so they're burying it in underneath your house, in the wall of your house, and then you're protected by this beautiful stoneware bottle with the head of a bearded man on it.
It's so mysterious.
From fantastical prints to witches' bottles, the Ashmoleans collection reveals how deeply ideas of witchcraft ran through early modern life. These weren't abstract fears, they were how people made sense of the world around them. Today, these objects offer insight into historic beliefs and anxieties. They help us understand the minds of those who created them and invite us to look closer.